Too late.
Welcome, everyone, to the 2025 Topcoder Marathon Finals. I'm Tony, the head of Topcoder, and I'm extremely excited to see everyone here again as we're about to witness what our community does best: compete, create, and push the boundaries of what's possible. I want to introduce this fantastic group of people on the broadcast in a minute, but first I'd like to share a few thoughts on why we're here. Topcoder has always thrived on a core belief that exceptional talent knows no boundaries, and that opportunity should be accessible to all who are driven to excel. The competitors in this event represent the very best of global problem solving, individuals driven not by titles or geography, but curiosity and a relentless desire to innovate. It represents the best of the Topcoder community, who bring a passion for learning, a willingness and openness to share knowledge, integrity, excellence, and that hunger for competition. But a marathon match is more than a competition. It's an opportunity. It's an opportunity to think differently. It's an opportunity to experiment boldly, to fail fast and regroup, to uncover new approaches that no one saw coming. It's a chance to get lost in a hard problem and reemerge with something uniquely yours. It's a reminder and a demonstration of the type of mindset and the type of talent that really pushes the world forward. So to all our finalists, you've competed all year to climb the mountain to get here. The next 24 hours is about you. It's about showing the world what happens when determination meets creativity. So compete fiercely, innovate freely, and above all, enjoy the challenge. Now, let me introduce the smarter people in the room with me today. There's a set of veterans of Topcoder that have been here for quite a while, so they've got some great stories and some great inputs to give to the competition. But let me kick it off to Dimitri first to lead us off an introduction. So Dimitri, if you wouldn't mind introducing yourself, please.
Yes. Hello, everyone. So my name is Dmitry Kamenetsky, otherwise known as dimkadimon on Topcoder. So I've actually been doing Topcoder for quite a while now. I've joined in 2002, and for many years I was just doing SRMs, which are just the short competitions. And then I discovered the beauty of marathon matches, and I've been loving them. So I switched to marathon matches. I was a competitor there. And about 6 years ago, in 2019, I started writing my own marathon match problems. And since then, I've become the main marathon match writer and coordinator, so which I really enjoy doing. So, and just a message from me, just to all the competitors today. So, good luck to you, and let the best person win.
Great, and Dimitri, we thank you for everything that you put into these marathon matches. I know there's a lot of energy that goes into it, and you're a huge part of making them successful. So the Topcoder definitely thanks you for that. And Jaco as well. Jaco, why don't you go next? You're also very involved in making these problems successful.
Hello, so my name is JacoCronje. I'm located in South Africa, sunny South Africa. At least it's morning at this time. I don't have to wake, at 2, 3 a.m. to join this call. I also have been a member of Topcoder since 2002. Mostly I focused on marathon matches. I took part for many years in them. Then I also started to write problems. I love, tackling these unsolved or unsolvable NP complete type of problems, and challenge myself to solve them, and then create these problems for other people to solve. More lately, I switched more to testing these problems, trying to break them and making sure that the quality of the problems is up to standard. Yes, so it's a lovely place to be, and good luck to everyone.
Awesome. Aaron, why don't you go next?
Yeah, hi, I'm Aaron Kirchner, known as kaasanerinn on Topcoder. I first joined Topcoder back in 2004, I believe now. Spent quite a while writing problems. Have the dubious distinction of being the one who named the marathon match competition what it is today. I was a problem coordinator for marathons for the longest time, served as an admin for Topcoder for many, many years. Now I've kind of stepped back a bit and other people are taking that place and doing a great job. I just want to say also good luck to all the competitors, but more than anything, make sure you have fun, because if it's not fun, then what's the point?
Agreed. And Renat.
Hey, hello, fellow Topcoders. So my name is Rinat Sergeyev, and I'm known here as gorynich. And I had been a scientist all my life, and I first learned about Topcoder in 2012 as it was a part of my research project in a small place called Harvard NASA Tournament Lab, where we really used Topcoder as a guinea pig. We tried to experiment. We tried to find the best challenges in the world, like real challenges, like from NASA, from a broad institute, from like academia, from everywhere, for all kind of topics, and to throw them at the best coders in the world. And then we were writing papers about it. And they were having fun analyzing like all the scores and like who was beating whom and competing and how the problem is being solved, all the methods and so on. And I'm so excited to see you all having been at all this competition again. And I'm wishing you all the luck here. Have fun.
Thank you, Renat. Dimitri, where do you want to go from here? Do you want to talk about the competitors? Do you want to talk about the problem?
I think let's talk about the competitors.
Okay, here we have 12 competitors as a finalist for as a finalist for our exciting marathon. And let's start introducing them one by one. And who is coming the first? Uh, uh, is so the first is coming the xIlledanx. It's JacoCronje. He's from Norway, and he is a member of Topcoder since 2018, and he has had like 30 marathon matches, and he had one win, but he is fairly new for our the Topcoder Open. So let's wish him all the luck. And next, like Erin, you can introduce the WA.
Yep. Next up is wleite, Vladimir Leite from Brazil. He's an absolute veteran of marathon matches. Several of us have met him on several occasions. It's no surprise seeing his name back here. I know he was pretty excited about this competition. It actually got him coming back into doing competitions out of a little bit of a temporary retirement. So we're glad to see him here today, and we hope he does very well.
Okay, and the next here is a therealbeef. His name is Jan Nanning, and he is from Netherlands, and he is competing from the South Korea. And he is also fairly new. He started Topcoder in 2022, but he already had participated in 10 marathon matches, and he is fairly new to the finals. But let's wish him all the luck there.
Up next, we've got sullyper, Benjamin Bouton, originally from France, but now living in the United States. He's done, I believe, 42 matches at this point, 21 times finishing in the top 5, which, like everybody on this list of finalists, is a very impressive statistic. We hope he does well and has fun today.
And the next comes Marwar22, Martian Wrobel from Poland. And He just has joined Topcoder in 2025, but he has already participated in 6 marathon matches, and he was very successful this year. Like the first year on Topcoder, and he is already on the finals, and wishing him all the luck.
Next up, we've got Krzysztof Maziarz from Poland. He's probably competed in a few less matches than several of the people on this list, but still a top 5 finish out of 17 matches is nothing to sneeze at. We'll see how he does today.
And the next is Kovi, Lazia Kovacs. He comes from Hungary, and he had been with Topcoder for quite a while, actually longer than I had been there. He's from 2011. He participated in 44 marathon matches, and he ended up in top 5 in 12. But that's his first time in the Topcoder Open. He made it, and let's wish him all the luck there.
Next up is Gaha, Simon Mikler from Poland. He's got 1 win to his name with 3 top 5 finishes out of just 10 competitions, so that's a pretty good statistic. Hopefully, for his sake, he'll be able to kind of translate that 1 win into a good performance again today.
And the next one is frictionless. Jeremy Savitsky from United States. He joined Topcoder also pretty recently in 2024, but he was really performing super well. He participated in 11 matches. He won 1, but he was a top 5 but in 5 of them he was among the top 5, and he was showing amazing performance this year. So that's his first finals, but we are really looking forward to see how he does it there.
Next, we've got eulerscheZahl, Ralph Pulitz from Germany. He's been doing marathons for about 5 years now, so he has appeared in a final previously, with his best finish being a 7th place finish. I'm sure he's looking to improve upon that today. We'll see how it goes for him.
And the next one is Diver 19, Dmitry Kovalenko. He is from Ukraine, and he is competing from the United States. He is one of our veteran members. He joined Topcoder in 28. And he participated in 86 marathon matches. He won 3, and he was among the top 5 winners in 25. He is also very experienced participant in the Topcoder Open. He participated in 3 of them, and that makes him the 3rd most experienced the Topcoder Open member. And let's see how he performs. Like his best place was 6th, so but like I'm sure he's looking forward to speed that up.
Next up is Acarreo, Alvaro Carrera from Argentina. He's relatively new to marathon matches, having participated in a total of 13 with no top 5 finishes yet. He's one of 2 competitors today who has not had a top 5 finish. However, don't let that statistic fool you, because it's still anybody's game today. Depending on the problem, depending on how people are feeling and how they approach things, anybody can have a great day today, so we'll see what happens.
So Dimitri, I know everyone's anxious to hear about the problem, but before we get into that, do you want to give everyone a little bit of information about how those 12 finalists made it here?
Yes, definitely. So this year was quite a brutal competition tournament. So we had 6 marathon matches. So there were, you can see on the screen there, marathon match 159 to marathon match 164. We had 4 different riders. So I wrote, Jaco, sullyper wrote, and also we had a new writer, Carter the Cat, who's very experienced. He writes a lot of problems on coding game. He's also known as ACAT. And we had a number of different testers. We had about 5 testers. So I did, Jaco, sullyper, and 2 new testers. Let me try to pronounce eulerscheZahl joined us, and also Nika. So Nika also helped out with the final problem. He's a very experienced coder. Yes, he does very, very well at coder. Now, with each marathon match, we compute the final rankings, and the first person receives 100 points. The second person gets 75 points. The third 60 points, and so on down the list. And then throughout the year, we aggregate all the points and we pick the top 12 people. So these are the finalists that will be competing today. And you can see most people competed in all the marathons available, although some people were writing or testing, so they couldn't compete. And maybe some people decided there's no point competing once they've qualified. I want to point out sullyper. He actually only competed in three marathons because he was writing and testing in the other ones. But despite that, he had 2 wins and 1 second, so he qualified quite easily. Now, Frictionless actually won 2 marathon matches. I think we mentioned incorrectly before that he won once, but no, he actually won 2 of them, and he did quite well in the other ones. The other winner was Gaha, and also xIlledanx got a win in the last one. Yep, I think that's pretty much all I've got. So I think now we can talk about the marathon match format, how they work.
Yeah, let me talk a little bit about that. Marathon matches, unlike many other types of competitions, don't have a single right answer to them. Competitors are going to be faced with one problem that's very difficult to compute the perfect response to or a perfect solution. Instead, they're going to work to get as close to perfect as they can, score as many points as they can. They're going to have 24 hours in this case to work on the problem. They can make basically as many submissions as they like, trying repeatedly to do better and improve each time, finding new optimizations perhaps or new strategies to take in solving the problem. There's a number of test cases that get run for each problem submission. I believe in this case it's 100 test cases for a regular submission. And you are then scored on each of those test cases, and your total score is what we call a relative scoring, where it's not necessarily your raw score in each test case, but how each test case performed compared to everybody else on that one, where whoever does the best gets a perfect score for that case, and everybody else is scaled down from there. We then add together your relative scores, and that gives us a score with a maximum of 100, meaning you're winning every test case, or anything lower than 100 means you're maybe not have the best solution on every test case. Maybe somebody else is doing better than you. That is what we do to generate our leaderboard, and the leaderboard will probably move around a bit throughout the course of the day as people make new submissions and find new solutions to the problem. We'll see people do have the option to sleep. if they want to step away for a while and try to catch some rest. You will probably see at least a few competitors who power through it for the full 24 hours. Which is the better strategy? I'm not sure. I guess it depends on your personal preference. But I'm certainly very interested to see how things shake out today.
All right, so at this point, I think the finalists will be going into their rooms and they will get to see their problem. And once they do, then we can talk about it. Just waiting for confirmation.
It's worth pointing out that maybe not every single competitor might start right away. Depending on where people are in the world, their time zones, and the time of day that they're dealing with, some competitors might opt to rest for a few hours now and then actually start the competition a little bit later at a more convenient time for them. So we'll see if anybody does that and how many choose to take that strategy.
In terms of that, Aaron or anybody else, how does this compare to one of the matches that was run throughout the year where there is some more time for people to work on it? So time is a strategy consideration for sure, like you said, but definitely they're going to take different approaches, I'd imagine, today versus the 6 matches leading up to this, where they may have had a week or so to work on the
Absolutely,
problem.
during the you're having a week to work on a problem, you have the opportunity to spend maybe several hours in a given day working on it, and then can come back to it the next day with a freshly rested, fresh cup of coffee, new ideas in your mind. You can maybe take a new perspective on the problem. With the 24-hour format, you don't have really that advantage to totally step away and refresh yourself. So you do need to kind of try to take advantage of as much time as you can, without totally exhausting yourself. Where that balance is, I'm not sure, but I suspect you will see probably a majority of competitors spending a majority of the 24 hours working on the problem. Sort of like when you're, as we go with the analog of an actual marathon, when you're training for something like that, you are going at a much faster and much harder pace than you do when you're practicing and leading up to it. But you're doing it for that event. That's the big thing. This is the big event right now, so everybody's gonna do whatever they can to try to win or do as well as they can.
Yeah, that's some great insights. Dimitri, I think we're in. Do we have everybody in their rooms and starting to see the problems?
I believe they can see the problem now, but I also want to add it's very important for them to have enough rest, have a good sleeping schedule, and eat correctly. So I think that all helps to keep the energies up, so they're fresh and ready to go. 24 hours is a long time to be competing and thinking and coding. I wouldn't be able to do it, but the reason why we chose 24 hours is try to make it fair for everyone, because they all come from different time zones, and so they will all have the same amount of time in terms of the amount of night and day.
It's funny we talk about getting enough rest and eating properly and things like this. I wonder how many of the competitors are just going to live off of energy drinks and chocolate bars for the next 24 hours.
Yes, probably a lot. Or pizza.
Pizza's
Pizza.
good too.
Pizza's a good one.
Well, I
Okay.
saw some strategies with a beer, but like I wouldn't advise to start with it.
Maybe a bit later to celebrate. All right, so I think we can see the problem now. so I can briefly talk about it. So this problem is called Number Puzzle. It was written by me, tested by Jaco and Nico, and the problem is actually based on the Eternity 2 puzzle, which is sort of, you know, an actual physical puzzle that you can buy. And it's an edge matching puzzle. And actually, when it came out, they offered $1 million for the first person to solve it. But because it was so hard, no one was able to solve it. But it caught a lot of people's attention, and I myself was trying to solve it as well. Anyway, in this particular problem, you need to place tiles on an empty grid. So these tiles are squares, and they have 4 numbers. There's a number on each side of the square. So these numbers are between 0 and a parameter that we call C. You also hold in your hand, you're given T tiles. So T is a number between 1 and N, where N is the grid size. So during each turn, you have one of the following 2 options. You can pick a tile in your hand and you can place it on an empty spot on the grid. Now, if you have 2 adjacent tiles that touch each other and they touch at the same number, then you'll score points. And in particular, if that number is k, you'll get k cubed points. So obviously, the higher the number, the more you'll score. The other alternative is to pick a tile and discard it from your hand. When you do that, the tile goes to the end of the tile queue. So as you cycle through the tile queue, you'll actually get to see that tile again. But there's one very important comment here. So the number of discards is actually limited. So you need to really think how to use them wisely. So after you've completed these actions, you'll receive a new tile into your hand. So you'll always have T tiles. And if the queue runs out of tiles, you get no more tiles. So you continue playing this puzzle until you've actually placed every tile onto the grid. And yeah, once you've done that, the final score that you've accumulated will be the actual score for that test case. So your actual task is to maximize the number of points you've collected. Now, importantly, when the puzzle is constructed, it's actually done in a way that you can find a perfect solution. And by that, I mean all edges will match. So, but this is hard to find because actually we shuffle all the tiles. So what the solvers get is a shuffled set of tiles. So they don't know which tile goes where. Also, tiles cannot be rotated. They're only taken and placed as they are. Now, in the optimal solutions, the numbers around the border are actually 0. So that's possibly some information that you could use when solving this problem. So yeah, so you can see we've got an animation. This is just a very basic solution. It's actually greedy, very stupid solution trying to solve this puzzle. And when the 2 numbers match, it becomes green, and the greener it is, so darker green means it's a higher number, so you get more points. When you discard a tile, it's highlighted in red, but maybe a bit too fast to see. Now I've also done a pretty mode for this animation. Maybe Aditya, if you can click the little pretty animation button on the website, just under the main animation. Just scroll down a bit. Yeah, so this is actually the same replay, but here tiles don't use numbers there. So each number is represented with a unique pattern. So you can see when the numbers used to match, now you have a pattern forming. So it's a contiguous sort of pattern. You can see they're matching. But I actually prefer to hide this animation because it's maybe a bit too distracting. Now, in terms of parameters, so n is the size of the grid, and it's between 4 and 16. Actually, the original eternity puzzle is 16 by 16, so that's why I wanted to keep that number. And it goes down to 4 because that's actually a very small puzzle. It means only 4 of the tiles don't have zeros on them, and there's a good chance that you can solve it optimally. C is the number of numbers that can appear, or the number of patterns. So that's between 2 and 20. And the number of tiles is between 1 and n. N is the grid size. Also, there's a discards parameter. So that's the number of discards you're allowed to make. And this is actually a percentage of the total number of tiles. This varies from 5% to 25%. So yeah, that's pretty much the problem.
So I'll quickly talk a bit about the whole testing process, how we test these matches. So firstly, when I get the problem from Dimitri or the problem writer, I first check, did we use it before? Because we have so many matches that we created. There's always a small chance that we had the exact same match, maybe just with, boxes instead of balls or whatever, things like that. But that's the first thing I check. And then, can it be solved perfectly or not for all the cases or not? In this case, we know most of the small cases, it's probable that you can solve it perfectly, but the big cases like the 32 size, you can't solve perfectly, or it's going to be very difficult. So it's important to make sure that the problem is not perfectly solvable in all cases. Then we would run the visualizer. So just another thing to say, we have a manual mode in the visualizer as well. So contestants can first play manually and try to solve small seeds just to get an idea and a feel of how the problem works. So I would also run that when testing, and then I would try to break the code, look for obvious bugs. Can I input, illegal commands, do some cheating? Do we have all the checks in place to prevent that? Once that is solved, I would start with just a greedy, quick solution. So with the problems, it's important to encourage participation. So you want many people to take part. So you don't want to spend hours just to create one solution. You want them to quickly be able to write a solution that scores some points. It won't score optimally, obviously, but it's always nice to have a greedy solution created quickly. Then I would, as time goes by with the testing, try to improve it, see how many different approaches we have. You want to keep them busy for the whole time. So you want to stimulate, creativity, trying to find different solutions, different approaches. Then it makes the match more fun if there's different ways to solve it. Also, sometimes I tend to add too many things to a match, then it gets too difficult. So we try to keep a balance to not overcomplicate things. So with this problem, initially, we added that you can just, you have your set of tiles in your hand, pick a tile and place it. After a while of testing that, it felt a little bit limiting. There's not lots of room for improvement. We need to add some depth to the problem. So I imagined myself playing this game. This eternity, by the way, I've got like a copy. Not sure if it will be visible.
That's very impressive.
Of the actual puzzle. Yeah, nobody solved it yet. It's $2 million that they offered. Eternity 1 was $1 million.
Okay, sorry, yes.
Yeah.
Even more money.
Hopefully, yes. Hopefully there's Eternity 3 soon, but someone needs to solve this one first. Anyway, so okay, I imagine myself playing this game with, let's say, 5 tiles in your hand, and you don't have an idea where to place them. Then you actually want to, exchange one of these tiles maybe with what's not on the board yet. So that's when we come up with the idea of discarding a tile. It gives a bit more depth to the problem, because now you have more choices to make. You can either place the existing tile, discard the tile, and then when do you discard these tiles? Which tiles do you discard? So it opens up the whole possibilities. And also it's important to limit the number of discards, because otherwise you can just discard everything, and then you know all the tiles and just solve it all at once. So that gave nice depth to the problem. So yes, we had many years ago an exact problem with the Eternity 2 puzzle that I wrote, but it was not interactive. You received all the tiles up front and spent all 10 seconds or whatever trying to find the best solution. So we changed that to interactive, and it makes the problem a lot different. Because now you can't plan ahead all the steps. You've got just a subset of tiles in your hand.
So before it was more like a global optimization, right? Because you had all the tiles. Whereas now it's very limited to T.
Yes. The scoring also, we changed that to have more high value tiles. It adds another depth to the problem. And we test a range of parameters. So I mean, for n, we knew, okay, the Eternity puzzle was unsolvable, so 16 is probably good, but some of the parameters, we try different ranges and see, does it create enough variation in test cases? You also want certain test cases to be very different based on the parameters. Yes. I think that's in short how the testing process works, and it's just the iterative process of changing things, checking again, checking for bugs, testing, improving.
And you were sort of competing against Nika, or you're actually like comparing different approaches as well?
Yes.
So that was quite interesting. Okay. Excellent. So I think at this point we can have a quick look at the contestants and what they're doing. Just spying on their screens.
That's because spy.
Yes, so this is quite exciting. And yeah, we can just have a look and talk about it. So it looks like Acarreo is sort of just reading the problem. So that's quite important to just understand what the problem's about and find any special cases that you need to handle. Read all the parameters. Actually, some people mentioned they want to use AI to understand the problem, and so they were asking me if that's allowed, and I think that's actually okay, because as long as the AI doesn't provide any extra insights about how to solve the problem, if it's just sort of translating the language, you know, if English is not your first language, you might want to translate it. So I think that's okay. But other uses of AI are not acceptable, like just writing a whole bunch of code. We don't want to see that. Although some editors actually allow you to, some editors have AI inbuilt into them and they do some code completion. So we actually allowed that. So just allowing some simple line completion. Yeah, it's quite an interesting and evolving topic with AI. It's really, yeah, changing the competitive world. So recently at Coder, which is another similar competition, they had AI competing in the final, and in the beginning AI was beating everyone because it's just so much faster. But at the end, one competitor, Psycho, he actually beat the AI. And so that was, some people think that was sort of the last time, the last human stand for beating AI, and it'll become harder and harder now.
And it was
Yeah,
Psycho.
it was Psycho, who's a very famous competitor on Topcoder as well. He won many finals, 6 or 7, I can't remember. But he's not competing with us anymore. Maybe we can try to convince him again. Not sure. He's found other places to compete. All right, so let's look more at this, at the screens. Okay, so I can see Ralph has already started coding. Remember, we actually allow people to use code templates. So before the competition, they're allowed to, you know, write up a whole bunch of code with, you know, various functions or algorithms that they think they might use in the competition. As long as they write their code, it's okay. Like, they can't just copy it. And I believe Ralph wanted to use a priority queue that he found online, and I told him, you're not allowed to do that. You'll have to write it yourself. So I'm not sure that he's actually done that. Maybe he has. I'll ask him later.
Normally they will have testing frameworks that they use to test over many test cases. I can imagine that's what some of them is setting up now or getting ready as well. So that they
Also
can
worth noting is
locally compare.
in the problem itself, we provide usually kind of an example solution in each of several languages, which isn't really going to be the solution that's going to win things, but does serve as an interesting starting point for competitors. Just so they have something that at least interacts with the tester the way it's supposed to, and it saves a little bit of time. So some of them may be digging into that right now too, just adding in their own kind of just random or test solution that they come up with just to get something going and give them something to work with.
Yeah,
It also
it's a good
builds
starting
confidence. It's a good starting point. Have something working.
point. And basically the example solutions, they show you how to interact with the tester. So how to read the parameters and how to send your results. So it's quite useful. It's not meant to be a strong solution. So actually here, the example solution just goes through each tile in the hand in sequence and places it on the grid in sequence. So sort of left to right, top to bottom. So it's not very exciting, but it does score some points. It's not completely
As you
useless.
said, though, it also does provide that interaction with the tester, so it saves competitors from some of that work that is probably not the most interesting part of the problem for them.
With the testing, we also allow them to use external machines. So we provided them with AWS accounts, so they can use them to run a lot of tests. I believe they've got a lot of like 32 CPUs on them. So that should help them, especially towards the end when you're just sort of testing all the various parameters and finding the best combination. You're not actually doing any proper implementation.
Demke, how long do you think the test is going to take? Like right now, like for any of the advanced solutions?
So it depends how many parameters and how many what the range of those parameters they want to go through, and how many test cases they want to run it on. So the more test cases you do, the more accurate your results will be, because you're lowering the randomness, I guess.
We have
The
just seen
variance.
that testing solution like from Kovi, like that was placing those tiles like in a sequence.
Yep. Yeah, I believe that was the example solution that we saw there.
So right now, like, do we have everyone started, or do we have any of the contestants who decided to sleep in and start later?
Do we have any submissions?
Oh,
I'm just taking a peek. I don't see submissions yet. It looks there's at least 2/3 of the competitors that have entered.
Yeah.
So some people have probably chosen not to start yet and get some sleep before
Okay.
they jump in.
They're probably still sleeping. Yeah, probably still too early to make submissions, and also some people would want to hold back on their submission because you don't want to give away too much about how strong your submission is. You want to surprise everyone at the end and sort of hold it to yourself for a while. So we might not
the point you're
see.
bringing up. About kind of holding back on your submissions. Making submissions, it can be a good thing for you because it can give you an idea of where you are relative to everybody else. And if you find that you're much lower than everybody else, it means that there's probably a major insight you're missing. Whereas the other way around, if you don't want to show your hand, as you're saying, you kind of just hold back quietly, do the math by yourself, and just wait until you think you've done as well as you can before you make that submission. So it's interesting to see how strategy really does play into this too.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm surprised that no one has submitted the testing solution, like just to be on the leaderboard. There is
Just to be first for a while.
Just to be first. I know that there is there is various psychology about how to use leaderboard, and some competitors prefer to kind of like stay back and don't even show kind of like the best solution, or like, for example, throw solution early and then most like work with the tester, and then like start submitting the best solutions at the end, when sort of like no one expects them to do this like leapfrog like at the front. But some other ones just want to be on the top of the board, even if it is like for like some part of the competition. So especially where you're there, like, and it's also there is some probably psychology around it. That's you start impacting the others for
Put a
seeing
bit
like,
more
hey, like
pressure on the
putting
competitors by
a little bit more pressure on the competitors. Maybe it's a little bit disturb the thinking. Yes, right now, like the first starting is all about thinking. So like, who is the not start putting together the ideas and maybe like getting like the right approach like in future. So like if you disturb the contestants a bit, so like maybe they gonna start missing some easy pathways.
Yeah, so it's not just algorithmic competition. There's also a lot of psychology involved.
Well, we were talking about that why like 24-hour competition is different from the others. So like when there is like say even a week of the competition, there is quite a lot of time to deal with your psychology. We still see that those strategies of putting those very simple submissions as a part of just appearing on the leaderboard. But it is less we know that you can probably really like distract the experienced members. But here, like 24 hours, there is a lot about like how you sleep and how you code, how you test your hypothesis, like how you improve, when do you switch? Like if there is if you see that your approach is not really like working well, like when you completely start changing the code and implementing some completely new strategy, what we see sometimes too. So, and you have to allow enough time for that. Everything is on time. So thinking about what the kind of the competitors are doing right now, we can also think about the time zones. So I know that there is three of our kind of contestants from United States, like I reside in United States, and one in Argentina and one in Brazil. So we have five contestants where there is a night right now. There is a middle basically of the night, and maybe like late, and they probably like just gonna walk a bit on a problem and like hopefully like take some rest pretty soon. But then we have the we have six, right? We have like six contestants from Europe, where it is morning now, and that's where we actually expect the very active time from them, like all the way forward. And that's also turns into some competition between the time zones, because by the time when the competitors from America gonna be back, so the Europe is gonna be far ahead, and they will have to catch up. That probably also adds a little bit of uh, a little bit psychology to this race. I know there has been a lot of discussions and even voting on like what's the time the best for this marathon, like what's the best start and what the best end, like whether there is the time preference for certain whether this format benefits like some contestants from certain time zone. But sort of like what we picked was something that sort of like feasible for all of them. But uh, there is definitely difference in the pattern we can observe.
Yeah, so it seems to be better to be in Europe because you can sort of start the competition and do an all-nighter, not sleep for the 24 hours. But if you're in America, you might want to sleep in the first few hours and then wake up and start in the morning. It seems harder for some reason.
Basically, it makes you sleep. Whereas like in Europe, there is a chance not to sleep at all. will be pretty tough for them though, like at the end of the match, because that would be like basically the morning and like sleepless night for Europe. And it's very hard to go to sleep when you know that the others may catch up and leapfrog, like and beat your score, and you think you're standing pretty well, but then like if you
Yeah.
let someone to jump ahead of you, that means you missed some really important idea, and you need to jump back and find it. And so probably sleeping like for the last, say, like 5-6 hours before the end would be pretty stressful.
Yeah, I think it would be quite stressful.
A lot can change in those few hours if you step away. You're probably right that you wouldn't get much sleep if you're worried about it.
No,
Well,
coffee
also,
and beers.
also it'd be very hard to sleep when you're constantly, like, your brain would still be processing and thinking about the problem, and you're probably going to see all these tiles in your dreams, and it wouldn't be a very peaceful sleep. Looks like we have our first submission from krismaz.
Hooray!
Can we show the leaderboard?
So since it is a first submission, like we expect that just the leaderboard is going to show like 100% because it's all normalized.
Yes, so if he passes every test case with a positive score, it should be 100%. But if he doesn't, and that's actually it's a good way to test, it'll be less than 100. So he'll know that he failed some of them, because there's no other way to get this information if there's multiple submitters. So this is a perfect opportunity to find this information.
But that works only if you're the first submitter.
If you're the first sort of submitter, or if someone else just submitted an example solution and you're clearly ahead of that, then you'll probably know as well. Speaking of actually testing, you can actually do a lot of, there's a very cool trick where you mostly do your testing locally, and locally you compare against the example submission, and then you see what the example submission scores on the actual competition, and then you can kind of work out what you would have scored if you did submit to the actual competition. So that's a very little trick that people use. Assuming there is an example submission in the leaderboard, which is usually the case in normal marathon matches, but these guys are a level above, so they might not be submitting an examples solution. We'll see.
So they have 10 seconds of runtime for each test case. But another trick that they sometimes use is to limit their time to, let's say, 2 seconds. And just use 2 seconds out of the 10 seconds. And then in the last, let's say, hour, or when they decide to make the big move, they allow the solution 10 seconds and get a sudden boost. That's one of the tricks. Or sometimes
But
they would
wouldn't
look, yeah.
wouldn't they risk to fail some of the tests like with such a boost?
Well, yes, because
You're kind of like cutting it close to
yes,
the edge, and you want to be as close as possible, but then you to fail some of the tests, and then you won't even be able to see it.
but they are very good checking the time, so the chances are there, but it's normally small. They know what they do. Or other trick that they sometimes do is look at the parameters, and let's say you deliberately fail test cases where n equals 4. So then okay, 5% of the test cases I'm scoring 0, but the others I'm scoring normally. And then you can compare against the others how well you sort of do with certain ranges of test cases.
So how many of those like fishing the fishing the scoring the submissions should we expect?
Well, you do see it. I think with less contestants, it's sort of psychological thing of keeping that secret submission a bit back until the end or near the end. So we might see that. Depends how close the scores are. If the scores are very close, I would say it's better to try and keep some secret thing back until a certain stage. But we'll have to see what the range of the scores will be.
Also here you can make your local test and sort of like very you get much more information from your testing your solution locally than submitting it. So the submission becomes much more just like to compare to much more just a part of competition and psychology around it. So it doesn't provide you that much information.
Yes, locally you can run it against thousands of test cases, while the provisional leaderboard we see is against 100, I think.
So in fact, you're even more accurate, like when you're testing it locally, even just on direct score, but also you can extract much more information in the process.
A lot of competitors will actually have their test cases running and testing in the background while they're continuing to work on the problem too, so that basically every CPU cycle available to them is busy doing something.
Yeah, so the first what the basic setting is that to get that data stream generated on like continue testing while it goes, and then do you think it takes them a long time to write all this data collection system to establish basically this data pipeline?
That falls under the category of pre-written code that they would bring with them, I would think. Especially if they've done this before, they've already got those systems worked out and they're ready to go with that.
That means that experience actually like here
Experience helps, yeah.
helps a lot. So right now, like out of 12 contestants, we have actually like only 4 who had experience of the previous Topcoder Open. So and those 4 are actually pretty experienced.
Yeah, you want to talk about that, Renard? Those 4 people.
Yeah, so we have the 4 people who had been in the finals before. It's the eulerscheZahl, the sullyper, they were 19, and wleite, and the eulerscheZahl like is fairly new in those finals, but he is very experienced in the marathon matches. Like so, 32 marathon matches. That's quite a long quite a long experience. But those matches that they don't give you that experience of like running those like 24 like very fast pace competition. So all those tricks that you need to actually like to beat everyone in 24 hours, that would discuss like the psychology or this templates, which usually you have a time to prepare during the long patches, but like here you need to have them in advance. So like the approach, the time management, the management of your physical state. So all of that becomes super important. But he has one marathon final, so like hopefully that's even if you once tested those waters, that becomes very that gives already a lot of experience there. So it's much more than even like watching them or like hearing from someone. Like how like it's probably having a good friend who would advise you on that probably would work too for some of those contestants. Like because we know that many of them are actually friends with each other and they know each other pretty well. So giving each other tips, like getting tips about it, that's probably uh
They're all
good thing.
quite good friends, and they compete in many other competitions as well. There's a chat on Discord which I joined this year, and I could see a lot of them talking to each other, and sometimes like trying to sort of sabotage the other person in a joking way. So it's kind of fun to watch.
I think there is a lot of reuse of the templates like among the various marathon members. Like if you already have a template and like you share it with your friend and he shared it with another friend and then we have like same templates ending up with like different marathon, different top code open.
So here they're not allowed
Contestants.
to use someone else's code. So they need to write their own template.
Yeah. So but the other three the experienced members, they have a lot of they they all have like a very long history, both with marathons and with the finals, and that's what we like expect to see some very experienced behavior there. So the Diver 19 had 86 marathon matches, which is he's the second uh, like of all the finalists, he is the second most experienced in the marathon matches in the past, but also has the longest the second longest tenure on the Topcoder, and then he had three marathon finals. So like that's uh, that that already sets him for the for probably the best way of the best way gives him a lot of familiarity with this marathon with this contest format. And sullyper has not only participated in 42 matches, but also had he has scored pretty high on on the Topcoder Open finals. He was in the four Topcoder Open finals, and he had his best finish was the third. And I remember his several last competitions, and they were all pretty recent. And so like that's yeah, he was very close in fighting for the first places there. So and given his performance over the last year, like especially that all the three matches that he participated, he scored very high. He won 2 marathons out of 3, and also he was competing against his sort of like closest expected favorites, like directly in those marathons. So that's places him very high. Also, I feel like being uh, the problem tester and like the problem developer, like what he does, that also helps a lot with familiarity with the format. You probably like know have a better vision of what
I
happens
think
behind the scenes.
he would know better what goes through our minds and how we write the problem. So he kind of knows what to expect. So that that definitely helps him.
So he's definitely in the head of those who write the problem, which helps a lot. But like as Jaco was explaining, like how he was taking this classic problem and then was modifying to make it more suitable for this competitive format. And he was basically adding certain tricks to this problem or certain type of pivots and like changes. And there is certain logic behind it why he was doing that. So that sullyper probably knows that logic pretty well. And that's why like there is some probably familiarity of like, okay, like this is sort of like the spectrum of the strategies you can potentially try to implement. Or this is where you should focus. Like there is probably some insight you can get through that, like on just knowing that not only like this problem had been modified for these competitions, but also modified and tested like in advance. And that's why you probably know that the solutions could be interesting to this problem. And that's a big insight probably you can get. And
I think
then
sorry, you go on.
I think that's I was just like then planning to talk about that and Vladimir there, but yes, like let's finish about the Benjamin. So and finally we have Vladimir, who is Vladimir wleite, who is like a legend on Topcoder. So he has the largest number of marathons, like participating in the largest number of marathons, like among everyone. I think when I was analyzing at some point, like who was participating, like in what marathons, like across all the participation data, I was just like curious to play, like a few years ago. So it was Vladimir, it was Zyker, like who was participating a lot, and then it was one guy who like was never winning any competitions, but was always like trying to do like trying to participate in nearly every single marathon he could get. And I think at some point like that actually third guy actually like had more marathons than wleite. But I think wleite like has at least like 3 or 4 times more marathon than Zyker. Like so he's ahead of like at least like the second or third people like by basically like maybe like 2 times at least like on a number of marathons.
I want to mention that that statistic about marathons also includes data science challenges. They're also called marathons, but they're quite different to these what we call fun marathons, which are about optimizing a fun problem. But yeah, wleite competed in a lot of them as well and won some of them. But no matter what happens, we're going to get a new winner this time. So no one of the competitors has won this before. Some came close. The closest was a third finish from sullyper and wleite.
But wleite had like 13 finals, and his top score was the third, and probably he's coming back again and again with like incredible persistence. So like I think he'll be very happy to get first finally. That was a lot of effort. But you picked you mentioned that we have indeed like various type of competitions that sort of like that's we both called marathon. And if you think about the history of Topcoder, it's basically started as a first as a platform for for fun. It's a platform for just like those like for fun competitions, and like where like the top algorithmic thinking guys would come in and competing. Even the first format of the competitions was actually the algorithmic arena, where those like they would be solving those like simple like algorithmic problems like within basically like an hour span, and you need to
I don't think they're simple. You just have
well,
less time to solve. But
they
they
have
do
much
have
less time.
they have an exact answer. So it's a right or wrong answer, whereas here you might never reach the optimal solution. You're just trying to approximate a good answer.
But it was always the most of those problems like on those like algorithmic arena is like something where like is a problem where like you need to kind of like solve the complexity problem, where like if you just use simple brute force, it would never converge in time, or maybe even in the time of universe. And then you need to find some like tricks and like and set it straight. But then other formats evolved, and the most exciting one was when we started solving those like data science. So first, this type of like basically expanded like the solving these game problems, like or like puzzle basically problems for like for fun, but which may take like several days of the competition, like 3 to 7 days competition format, and. But that was still sort of like those like fun competition, which is still going, and still we're using them for the Topcoder open format. But then we just start thinking, okay, like, but if we're competing on the for fun problems, maybe we should also compete on the real like world problems. Like, let's someone like put a real world challenge and open the data for that, and or like open it not necessarily, it could be like just a direct data science challenge when there is, say, a data set and you need to infer something or like predict something, but it could be also a real world sort of like a nearly a gamey problem when sort of like you basically like have to use, for example, the data that you get like uh, to do certain actions that would be scored after that, like in certain way. So which would require like a complex, also like a complex way of like handling that scoring scoring software. Like for example, when you need to say optimize the time, for example, for or like optimize the memory, like of certain computations, and that's where we start bringing those like real challenges, like from say NASA, like from engineering, from space, from life sciences, from like biotech, from like all kind of cool sources. Like, hey, like let's go and find, say, like vessels that perform like illegal fishing, or let's go and find like, or let's do space archaeology. That was one of my favorite challenge. Like where like we needed to look at the maps from space, like of Mongolia, and try to find the ancient structures in that place. Or like a simple like, or not simple, sort of like optimization problems, which were like one of the first challenges where I was participating on the organization side, was the challenge of of optimizing the solar panel energy for the space station. Like it's called Longeron challenge, where like you need to rotate all those all those space all those solar panels on the space station in an optimal way, while the joints of all those like solar panels are getting old and rusty, and you need to do the minimal movements to them, and but at the same time they would shadow each other, and it goes around the Earth, and all this optimization And that's not a pure data science like problem. So that's where you have to really like compute all the time, not just like say infer or like run a simple data set around. You don't even know what's optimal, like what the perfect answer is.
All right, we are coming up on the completion of the first hour of the competition, which means it's also about time for us to wrap up this part of the broadcast, but we will be returning at 2:15 a.m. Eastern time in about short of 23 hours from now, 22 hours or so from now, to see how the competitors have progressed through the challenge, and we'll take a look at the leaderboard at that time and talk through some of their approaches potentially, and ultimately get closer and closer to figuring out who the new winner is this year. So thanks everyone for joining, and we'll see you again shortly.
Good luck.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, Jinker.
See you later.
Later.